All right, welcome to episode 2 of Ballogy Sessions. We got my man Cristian Plascencia. Cristian is a performance specialist. He's a CEO and founder of Durable Athlete. You might have seen him in an ad at Lululemon. He's an ambassador there, as well as working. If you do some workouts in the mirror, you definitely have seen Cristian, because if you're trying to get right, you're working out with him. He currently trains some of the top athletes in the world, from youth athletes to college football stars to NBA champions. Cristian, welcome to Ballogy Sessions, my bro.
Man, thank y'all for having me, bro. Very, very excited to be here, bro. For sure.
Awesome. So we always like to start off to break the ice with a couple rapid fire questions, man. I'm gonna kick us off so that people can get to know you. What would you say is the most essential lift in the weight room?
Damn. I would say probably like the split stance lunge. Let's say that. We can go with that. That's probably my number one if we had to put me on the spot. If I get like a lucky number 2, then it's got to be the shin box, bro. Get your hips right, get your knees right, get your ankles right already.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, next rapid fire question. What are you eating on your cheat day?
Ooh, damn, y'all gonna do me like that. I mean, if it's up to me, some tacos. I'm a big taco fan, but I'm picky on my tacos. No offense to any Torchy's tacos people out there, but Torchy's tacos is like the furthest thing from a taco that I would be craving on my cheat day. But it's either got to be some tacos and probably and I'm not paid by them, but maybe eventually, but P. Terry's out here in the Austin area. If anyone knows what P. Terry's is, it's a burger stand. It's, I would say pretty high quality ingredients, behind their chicken and behind their beef and everything that they do. So that's probably going to be my 2 right there, bro. A burger and some tacos.
I like that. All right. So as a Lululemon ambassador, what is your favorite article of clothing that you got from them?
Sheesh. From Lululemon. Dang, that's a tough one, bro. I would probably have to say, since we're here to stunt, I got this nice parka. Very nice parka. I'm talking about, I've never even heard of a parka up until about a year ago. And I was just scrolling through all the stuff that the apparel that they had on their app, and that parka just hit a little bit different. It just kind of, it's a different language there for me, at least. And so, yeah, that's probably the nicest thing I got, man. It doesn't get too cold out here in Austin, or, it doesn't rain for a long time. So, I mean, I don't really get to wear it or pull it out too often, but if it's raining in Austin, Texas, next time y'all better watch out, man.
Yeah.
That's the one. That's the one. All right, last rapid fire question from me. CP, you are always fresh. How often do you get a haircut, beard trim, all that stuff? How often does that happen?
I feel like I ain't never seen you without a fresh cut, bro. Straight up.
Hey, man, y'all just put me on the spot with my vices, bro. Honestly, I used to get a haircut close to about every 7 to 8 days, man. And but let's backtrack, right? So I'm talking 2015 to about 2019. I would say that very rarely getting a haircut. I was just, if anything, borderline dusty, right? Like wasn't on my Lululemon stuff whatsoever. We're talking mismatching socks.
Back then they didn't want me.
You know what I'm saying? But then we just flipped the script a little bit. Some business people get in my ear. They're telling me, hey man, if you're trying to charge the part, if you're trying to look the part, you got to be that. And for me, there was a little bit of an internal battle there, because I think for myself, I really pride myself on I wouldn't say coming from nothing, because that's not necessarily what it is whatsoever. But yeah, like there were certain things growing up where I didn't have full access to all the resources out there. And so to get to a spot where I'm at today, and to be able to collaborate and be an ambassador with Lululemon and wear the clothes that looks, really nice. And luckily one of my best friends is a barber. So, he makes sure to take care of me. I mean, yeah, man. So I guess to answer it out there, it used to be, maybe a month. Then it went to like 7, 8 days. Now, mandatory 2 weeks. We got to be saving a little bit around here.
Yeah, I feel it, man. I feel it. Well, to get us started, man, we know that the Durable Athlete brand has an app that's very valuable. And if you guys never heard of it, go to the App Store and check that out. What we want to know is, why did you start Durable Athlete? I know you trained a couple different places, a couple different clients. So what was the background of just why you got started with Durable Athlete?
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like first and foremost, I should definitely point out that the Durable Athlete, was created by myself and with, my partner, also my girlfriend, Natalie Higby. She was teaching third grade at the time. I was coaching at a gym out here in Austin, Texas, a private gym. And, after working with clients, for, an hour and then seeing the next client for an hour and then just doing that on days on end, what we started to realize was, okay, are people really seeing results from that 1 hour, right? Like that 10 session pack, that 20 session pack that they pay for the whole month or for 2 months. Like it's doing something, it's making a positive change, but like, is it really doing everything that we can do to really pull about, the adaptation that we're looking for, right? Someone who's like mentally and physically feeling like they're best and progressing for sure. And I mean, the answer was blatantly like, just no, right? Like if someone's coming in and trying to master their life or trying to take ownership of their life for 1 hour a day, like, what is that really doing in the long term, right? Obviously 1 hour is better than nothing, but what that showed us was health and optimizing health and fitness per se is bigger than just 1 hour inside the gym. It's bigger than your hour and a half that you put into your workout every day. There's a certain ownership and a certain awareness that people should have behind, how are you working on your stress and mitigating your stress. Everything from somebody cutting you off to forgetting your lunch at home to something that's just out of your control, right? Or even a very, very intense workout. Those are stressors on our body and those are stressors on our mind. And ultimately, we should become aware of that, but also have tools that we can use to help mitigate the negative effects. For example, like some box breathing, right? Like some of the stuff that we've done, Daniel, like after a workout where you guys are lying on your back and we're doing the breathing, right? And then, so it really led us to helping people understand there's really 4 big pillars that people should have awareness to and also be working on a daily basis, because they're things that we're hopefully already doing, which is breath, movement, sleep, and nutrition, right? Ultimately, everyone's eating every day. Everyone's moving every day. Everyone hopefully should be sleeping every day. And everyone is probably breathing every day, right? So it's things that like we're doing, we just might not be maximizing each one of those health pillars. So yeah, man, that's kind of like our big why and kind of what pushed us to creating something like this.
Yeah, that's I mean, so basically, I mean, that the Durable Athlete app has helped me sleep better from just that simple breathing exercise of 3 ups and then out. Like, I don't know the exact name for it, but ever since I got that, I sleep better at night. I de-stress better. And so even if it's not even a specific workout series that I need to go through, I know that people can find value in any 4 of those pillars, Cristian. So we appreciate you and Natalie for doing that.
And I think a cool dynamic to the app, as a subscriber, it's not just a fitness app, I think, because there's a lot of those and it's, there's probably great content, but the holistic approach that you guys take, and specifically, I think the value that your partner Natalie brings with just the focus on intention, I think is really key. So I'm just curious, what is it like working with your partner, your significant other, and launching a brand, launching an organization and an app together? How are you guys able to work that out, and what's that like?
Yeah, definitely. Man, it's been an adventure for sure, right? Because in 2018 is like the first year where we formally filed to create the Durable Athlete LLC and kind of started to just basically create like the framework for what we want to stand for and the services we want to provide. But obviously since then, right, like during that time in 2018, I was still at a gym where I was a salary employee. So it was like the Durable Athlete was more of like something on the side. Yes, it was mine, and yes, it was Natalie's, and it was ours together. But like we were still working at that gym, and we were already, trainers and in a pretty good position. So there really was no crazy push to want to do something. It wasn't until I left that training job and that salary job in 2019 where I think we started to really have to start to try to, create momentum within our brand and our business. And then in 2020, which was last year at the beginning of COVID, that was the biggest test. I think, for one, Natalie was now actively involved on a daily basis within our business and our brand. obviously being a co-owner, she's, she was invested in the brand, but she also had a salary job at the same time. And I think you guys know, like, it's just a little tricky sometimes, right? Like if you're a salary employee, you're kind of expected to be somewhere and hold down the fort. While if you have your own kind of side business or own personal brand, sometimes there can be conflicting interests there, or just a conflict of time and energy. So when she finally made the leap as well, and we're now working inside the brand together, and COVID hits, like, we're at home together, and I mean, we have to communicate on a daily basis. I mean, there is no going several hours without communicating, whether it's just in our own personal relationship, or whether it's just through a business relationship that we have through our business. Yeah, so to give you a straightforward answer, bro, and somewhat of a roundabout way, like, it was very, very challenging. And probably, for her, I'm sure she could probably give her whys, but for me personally, it's just as simple as like being able to be okay with being vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like when something is yours, you want to feel as if you are fully equipped as possible to run something, right? Or to be the best version of yourself. And especially for me, being full Hispanic, this idea of like needing to be like the main provider, or like the rock of the house. I'm sure we all feel that to a certain extent. But yeah, I was kind of falling into that, and not necessarily trusting the sense that Natalie is there as my partner. And so things that I'm having an issue with, I can voice that to her, and I should voice it to her so that we can ultimately get to where we want to go in the long term. So yeah, bro, it was a process. It was a learning process, just like anything else. And I'm glad that it happened last year, and it's still an active process that's happening now. But I'm glad that it was brought to the light last year, and COVID again just really, really brought things to the table. And it's just either run away from them or address it.
How would you describe your training method in 3 words or less? We know you have your pillars of what you try to include on the app and what you do in your training. But if someone has never heard about Durable Athlete, what are 3 words or less that describes your training method?
I like that. Definitely say vulnerable. And I can elaborate on these 2 for sure if you like. I would say definitely vulnerable. I would definitely say like consistent, or consistency, I guess, if you want to somehow throw that one in there. And then I don't want to play off of just durable, right? Because obviously, durable is part of the title, right? But I guess like resilient would probably be like a 3rd thing, right? And resiliency, because it's ultimately like what we stand for, and what we try to preach with like athletes, and not just professional athletes, but 9 to 5 athletes, right? Because we believe everybody today is an athlete. Everyone's expected to mentally and physically perform. But being resilient, right? So like there's going to be setbacks, right? And if we're talking about in a physical standpoint, injuries and things like little knickknacks, like they're going to come up, they're going to happen. That's just what happens when you're performing at such a high level, right? Physically at the highest level. And so it's not about preventing necessarily, but it's about when it happens, right? Do we have a solid, foundation set in place to where it doesn't completely knock us over and throw us off our process, right? Or also too, right? Like instead of it being such a long-term setback, maybe we can mitigate it and have it be a short-term setback, right? Maybe it's not a torn ACL, it's a sprained ankle now. So that's just kind of like, the why, I guess, behind resiliency in a physical aspect. Obviously, we could talk about mental. I mean, you could get fired from a job, right? Like somebody could let you go within the blink of an eye. And it's like, is that going to set you back for 3 or 4 months or a year? Or is that just going to set you back for maybe a couple hours or a day? Allow yourself to feel what you should feel. And then we're on to the next one. And we're on with our process that we were on the day prior. So that's definitely one big one. And then the second one was consistency. Consistent. Like anything that you do, it doesn't matter what profession it is. Like if you are striving to be the best version of yourself within that category or whatever you're doing, you have to consistently show up every day, right? And I'm sure people would say it's bigger than showing up. It's an active process, like 100%. But if you don't show up, if you're not present in a certain moment, then like what good are you really going to be able to be putting in, And at that point, it's just kind of like being a sporadic, I guess, or chooser of when you're willing to put in that work to be the best version of yourself. And then the first one, vulnerable. And again, like vulnerable is big, man. Like, you have probably, just like you guys have, right? Like you guys are athletes. You guys have done lunges. You guys have done squats. You guys have done the push-ups. You guys have done a lot of working out, You guys know how to jump. Y'all know how to land in the context that you guys have always been taught that and have seen that throughout your whole career. So that's not wrong, right? But if you now come into my context of training, and now I'm asking you to do a squat, or now I'm asking you to do a lunge or a jump or something you've done millions of times and could do it better than me probably, like, I'm asking you guys to put your ego and your understanding of a certain thing that you know of to be true in a certain perspective, put that to the side and let me kind of be the one to dictate how I want you to move or how I want you to go about something. And in order for somebody to really do that, to buy into what somebody else is trying to help them with, you have to be vulnerable. You have to let your door down, and you have to be willing to receive the type of information that's trying to get to you. So yeah, those are my three right there.
Man, that's so good. You know, and I could just listen to you talk and kind of speak through the processes, and in getting to train with you, you know, I know that these things are true and not just concepts, you know, so I just want to celebrate you and honor the way in which you've been able to embody those things and not just set them up as goals, you know, because there's no organization, you know, within the fitness world and athletics that wouldn't say some similar things. You know, we want to be our best. We want to help people be their best, you know. That's what everyone would say, but, you know, really going the extra mile and figuring out ways to show up and make that happen, I think, you know, is an inspiration. And so I'm just curious how you would say, you know, Cristian, you're a humble dude, but how is in your mind working with durable athlete different from just your average trainer that you might go to any gym and work with? What's going to be some of the primary differences that I can expect in working with durable athlete as opposed to somebody else?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a great question. You know, what's funny is, like, I was thinking about this the other day. You know, myself and the strength and conditioning coach, you know, right down the street or right down the road or in the next city or whatever it may be, like, we could be doing the same exact techniques. We can be doing the same exact movements in the same exact sequence, right? But I feel like what is often neglected and maybe not brought to the light enough is the specific sincerity and the energy that a coach has. And from what I've heard from some of my close colleagues and some of my close friends, and also a lot of the people that I've been able to train and work with, they have definitely voiced to me that, you know, my energy and I guess the desire and the amount of care that I have for the individual in front of me seems to be like shining, and it seems to be very apparent. And that's something that I love, because I don't think I'm doing it on purpose. I don't think it's in the forefront of my head to have to show somebody that I care. I think it just kind of naturally and organically kind of comes out in the person that I am. So I think that should be, you know, probably like the first and foremost thing that I say. And as far as, like, from a training perspective, though, in terms of, like, you know, what does it look like or what is it going to feel like? I'll answer that, and maybe I'll even kind of flip it and put it on you guys, and maybe even you guys can give me, like, some feedback and let us know, like, what is one thing that you have kind of found to be new or novice or something you've taken away. I would say my biggest perspective is being able to move and being able to, like, not have any limitations within your body. Yeah. So no, I would say, I guess from a training perspective, like, the one thing you could kind of find with me that you wouldn't find with the trainer next door is just the perspective that I take the training is the whole goal is for you to be able to move without feeling any limitations when you're on your sport, when you're doing your job, in your field. And so for me, that kind of starts with the basis and the foundation of, like, do each one of your joints move independently, right, to the full capacity that they were made and designed to do? Because if not, chances are there's going to be an injury there or somewhere else around the body. And again, we could have mitigated that by just simply, you know, being consistent with our foundation and our daily process. So you can expect a mobility practice that that is very different than anything I've ever experienced or I've ever seen at any other sessions with all types of athletes. It doesn't matter what sport. And then, you know, further from that is just, you know, every movement that you're doing has a very specific intention, right? Like, very rarely am I telling you guys, all right, we got squats today, guys, go ahead and start with the 50-pounder, right? Like, that's not how I would start with you guys, right? Like, I'm going to show you exactly how it is where I want you to move from. I'm going to kind of remind you as you're going through your moves what isn't necessarily having as much awareness or activity as much as it should, or as much as we would like. And yeah, I guess that's just the mentality for everything is like, I can't assume that an individual knows how to do a lunge the way I want a lunge to be done. And that lunge word could be replaced with anything else that we do for our training. I want to make sure that X has the most amount of intention and understanding behind what we're doing and why we're doing it.
That's awesome. And one just, feedback response without, I'm not, we're wanting to hear from you, but just a thought that I have is you can also do this stuff. You're not just talking about it, you're being about it. So if anyone has a question, what's the purpose of this and why, where are we trying to get to? What's the optimal functional movement look like in this situation? You're able to, to show that. And that's awesome, as opposed to, then just do some squats or do some whatever. And so that's one of the huge differences has been for me. If I ever need to see what does this movement actually look like, so I can try and, get there as well. So that's just, an initial thought that I had to that.
Yeah. And my feedback, I mean, like you started off with, Cristian, I believe like your essence and your intention of why you're doing it, even in the moment of a session, and your professionalism just exudes through you, man. And that's what I appreciate about you. It could be just as little as you just look people in their eye and you're listening to the feedback. You're keeping an eye on everyone, even though you may be training a few other people. Everyone feels valuable. Not only do you do the things that, like Daniel's saying, you can do the exercises, but you actually care and you're intentional with every rep and every movement that we're doing, as well as, I mean, you're just elite, bro. You're just good at what you do. And it kind of just comes across, when you start in a session. I feel like when you're an athlete and you want to truly, Ballogy embodies this concept of elevating your game. When you want to go in and you want to elevate your game, and you're training with you, that's something that you can't escape. You know what I mean? Like, you better come with it, or you're going to be exposed. And so it is, good for people who are, because I know you train people who aren't necessarily elite athletes or totally in shape. You worked out with a spectrum of people, but I believe, from what I've seen, is you elevate everyone's game, or elevate, their body and their mindset. And so that's what I appreciate about you, man. And that's a little feedback and from me and from Daniel, but we appreciate what you do and why you do it, bro.
Thank you, fellas. I appreciate that, man. That's definitely heartfelt. And it's not fake as well. I mean, you guys have voiced these things, you know what I mean, over the last, several months now. So thank y'all, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure, man. I know it's not easy. And you've come a long way. Like you said, man, you used to go a month without cuts, bro. So I know you was in the trap. So we want to know some common misconceptions about being a performance specialist. Most people may think it's easy or it's flashy or you're whatever. What would you say are some common misconceptions about what you do?
You ain't got to be extra, extra swole, I guess, to be a performance coach. And probably biased for me to say that because I'm not extra swole, but it's funny, like, that's like, it's part of the job. I feel like it being like a fitness trainer or a performance coach or strength coach, really, whatever term you want to use within the field. Like, there's that certain like visual and aesthetic basis to it, right? I mean, just kind of like what Daniel said, like, hey, you could do the movements too. So like that plays into it as well, right? Like, that's part of the visual aspect. And so it's important that, like, yes, in the field, you put yourself through it. Whatever you're giving other people, maybe you're not able to make it look as pretty, but at least you put yourself through it, so you have the perspective of a coach to help guide people through their journey. But yeah, like, I think what a big misconception is if I'm not 200 pounds, right, at like 5'10" and yoked, then like I can't be I'm just going to say a football strength and conditioning coach, right? Like that shouldn't dictate that. Like, there's not a direct correlation there. So I think that's like definitely one big thing. And to be honest too, I think another thing too is, within this field, everybody is so like, well, this is mine, or this is the way I do it. So like, these are my methods and like, these are my techniques. And if an athlete so happens to train at a gym or a university or some type of clinic that, you know, someone is able to directly affect them and train with them and expose them to those stressors, and they end up being an amazing athlete, like, who's to say that was necessarily the coach, right? There's so many things that play into that. So I think it's just important to understand that, you know, sharing and collaborating, and understand that, like, not one thing is yours. And even the way you get stuff done is not yours. Like, I think that is, again, just a big, big misconception within performance training, is everyone has their own ways, when in reality, like, you know, there's 20 ways to skin a cat, and it's really just up to you how you want to get the job done, and how you want to, you know, effectively communicate how to get that job done.
Yeah, I think that's really apparent in the way that you know, train and share, you know, some of your concepts, and even having some of your content on the app and inviting people to join you there. I'm curious, out of all of the people that you've gotten to train over the past couple of years, do you have anyone that stands out to you that's taken the biggest leap, that's really embodied the durable athlete, and you could point to them and say, this is a product, so to speak, you know, not necessarily 100%, because like you said, there's a lot of, you know, different aspects to, you know, who an athlete ultimately becomes on and off the court or field. But is there somebody that you would point to and just say, you know, this is somebody who's really taken the durable athlete process seriously and embodied those 4 pillars in a way that stands out?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I'm gonna do my due diligence and say that definitely y'all two were definitely buying into the process and the things that we talk about within the durable athlete, right? So that's just being mindful of your sleep. And granted, both of y'all are fathers, right? Both of you guys have babies, young child who need them, or who need you to be directly involved in their life more hours than not throughout the day. So, right. I mean, as tough as that may sound, it's you guys, because it's you guys that are being mindful of the sleep. You're being mindful of what you're eating, the supplements and the things that you're putting in your body, you know, the breath work before bed, right? Like the intention behind your training, and willing to be coached and take in a new stressor to your body. Like, those are things that, like, I ask for. Those are things that I could only wish for in every single individual. So it'd be wrong for me not to point that out, that you guys, I think, 100% bought into that process. But then, you know, even just looking like longer term, so maybe even some of the guys I've been able to work with for a little bit of more of an extended period are guys like a Mark Mathias, who plays on the Brewers right now. I think, you know, so when I met him at the very beginning of COVID last year, he very, very slim training age, just basically being like the amount of time that you have spent in a formal strength and conditioning like background. Don't get me wrong, he had an amazing strength coach for college, but he himself was not taking it upon himself after that to kind of keep his body at the highest level. Granted, he's an amazingly talented player. So, I mean, he wouldn't be if he wasn't in the MLB. But since last year, and then now, you know, all the way now, and you know, including this past off season that we had about, you know, 4 months together, he began to be more consistent with his daily movement and his daily mobility for his shoulder, to the point where when we met, his shoulder, I think the only option they had was surgery at that point, and he hasn't had to get surgery, and he's playing better than he's ever felt before, or feeling better than he's ever felt, and playing, I would say, at a very high level right now. So that's definitely somebody that I would say, like, took it upon himself, him and his girlfriend. So it had, you know, it's great. Sorry, fiance now. It helps to have a team, right? It helps to have that accountability buddy that's like, no, I want to go to bed too early. I want to eat really healthy too. I want to do that breath work practice with you. I want to do that morning mobility. Like, that's what we want, man. A community of people who are going to help you grow and push you in a positive direction. So that's definitely one person I have to say did an amazing job, and I'm excited to see, because he's so young still. I'm excited to see where we can take that into the future. But also Mo Isom, which I know you guys know. I met Mo last year at the beginning of APA. That was really like the first time I got to work with Mo. And since then, we've worked at least 3 days a week for the last almost a year now. And honestly, when I first met Mo, I mean, man, like, Mo ran flat foot, like, Mo jumped with flat feet, like, you know, he had a hard time having awareness in certain areas of his body, and which could also be interchanged for a lack of strength in certain areas. I told him these are the movements you have to do every single day. Like I usually tell a lot of other players, and Mo, I could just tell each month, right, or each week, he just kind of continued to get a little bit better and a little bit better to the point now where, I mean, Daniel, you see him in there almost every single day. Like he's got his shoulder mobility practice, he's got his ankle and his knee and his hip mobility practice, and he's usually doing that like hours before we even start our session. You know what I mean? And then it's not just that stuff. It's not just, how far he's come physically, but like his willingness to want to eat more food now, which I think has helped him get to where he wants to go. And the biggest number one thing, which I feel like every basketball player listening, if you don't remember or listen to anything, please take this to heart right here. Like doing less on the court or just doing less in general has provided his body to the ability to do absolutely a percentile more. Let's say a lot more. And I think a lot of that has come from just here being vulnerable and being okay with, I'm not going to allow myself to kill myself in the gym every single day. It's a flow. It's an ebb and flow. It's hit it hard, relax hard, hit it hard, relax hard, and recover hard. So yeah, man, that's something I'm really big and passionate about, because if it was up to Mo and if it was up to a lot of young basketball players, you guys know, you would be in the gym every day. You would be in the gym at 8 a.m. and you probably wouldn't leave until 9 p.m. And as great as that mentality is, that winner mentality for wanting to outwork people, from a physical standpoint, there's a point of diminishing return to where it's doing you more harm than it is more benefit. And that's honestly like something that eventually I would love. Like when I get the platform, and I feel like I already have that platform, but when I have the platform to speak about it, like I have to hammer home that idea that like people in the US, because that's just where I live, that's the area I've been exposed to, like we think we need to do so much when in reality, it's really not that much or that hard in what we have to do. It's that mentality of, doing it smarter, not necessarily harder.
Man, well, I wish I had you in my life about a few years ago, because I feel like you spoke in about some things that are really going to help a lot of young players on the app, and it's important to point those things out, man. And I think what you said really stuck out to me about community. You said the community of people that helps you grow, and I like working out in groups as well. I mean, individual stuff is cool. It's a lot more challenging, but I love it. But it's nothing like working out with, people you trust. And, you work with Natalie every day with the Durable Athlete, but you also work with our first guest, Zach Urbanus, with this thing called Austin Pro Academy. If anyone's never heard about that, what would you say Austin Pro Academy is, and why did you team up with Zach?
Yeah. So Austin Pro Academy is a basketball program that we hold here in the off season, or I guess in the summertime, in Austin, Texas. And it's basically, it was created with the intention of wanting to work with very elite basketball players. So not just maybe in the sense of your D1 or a professional player, but you take the game of basketball and your process very, very serious, right? Very seriously. And don't get me wrong, like people can play basketball to have fun and do it for high school, do it for intramural. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But for people who are looking to maximize where they can get playing the game of basketball and trying to maximize, the resources and networking community that you can build through playing the game of basketball, those are the type of players that we want to be working with. So on a daily basis, what does it look like? Players are coming in, usually we'll, run sessions for about an hour. You'll be with me for an hour in the weight room, right? Going through, the daily mobility practice, going through the strength work, going through the landing work, the plyometric work, all the speed and agility stuff that you got to get done to compete at a high level in basketball. Those are all things that I handle with my coaches. And then on the other side, so after that initial hour, the second hour, you'll go and spend with Zach and his team. And, Zach, I mean, I say he's a skilled trainer, right? But ultimately, like he's more than that to these kids. He's known a lot of these, basketball athletes for a very long time. So the relationship there is almost something close to family. And they obviously trust him, with their skill and with basically, their moneymaker, right? For some of those guys, Their ability to play basketball is your ability to provide for you and your family and your community. So they trust him with that. He's obviously someone who I thought from the get-go in my initial meeting with him was a very genuine and straight up guy, and was there to get guys better. Simple as that. He wasn't there to be their best friend, which is shown in some cases. But at the end of the day, like, there's this understanding, and I think this is the important part about communication in any relationship. Zach is going to talk to you, right? He's going to talk to you in the way that makes most sense for him and shows his authenticity and his passion for the game. And guys just understanding, or girls, anyone who's attending the program understands that he's not yelling to hear himself yell. We're not there to put ourselves on a pedestal. It's literally us just there trying to give you every resource we wish we would have had as young athletes and as young players. So, yes, you got the hour in the weight room. Yes, you got the hour in the court, but there's also resources within my team where we help with nutrition as well. We provide a template for guys on understanding how much you should be eating. What does the macronutrients look like? What are the things you should be supplementing with on a daily basis, like collagen, fish oil, tart cherry juice, things like that. And then even, looking bigger than that, making sure that guys have resources for, yoga days and meditation days, right? So things that we should be doing on our off day. And then even educational resources, like Zach is really good at setting up these, Zooms where players have full access to come on and listen to financial advisors, listen to people who might be, real estate people in Austin, and helping them understand where their head should be when thinking about, buying a home, or if you want to buy a home in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Like, again, these are, or even things like credit or understanding like how to pay off debt, or understanding like how to work your money for you. Like, those are things that often get neglected when you're an athlete, because you're an athlete and your whole life is like performance on the court. And when you get out of that game and you're in real life, it could be scary for some guys or some girls that have never been exposed to that, or no one told them, hey, make sure you network with people, because the second you get out the game, like, that's going to be the thing you lean on the most. That was your job for years. So again, it's the basketball stuff. Yes. It's the body stuff. Yes. But it's also trying to help people within the Austin community understand that, hey, we're here to help you live your best life on and off the court.
Very, very well said, Cristian, man. I think that's why, APA just provides such a unique experience. And if people even came from out of town, man, to just spend an off season with you guys, even at the high school level, obviously pro and college can do it a little bit more flexible. But even if you're a young high school kid, getting down here and working with Cristian and Zach, I know it will be invaluable to your career. And
for anyone watching the platform that we're kind of coming to you from, that Jordan and myself are with, the Ballogy platform, it's a player development app and a shot tracking tool, but it's so much more than that. There's a couple different things that we do. We do combine testing, and we bring that to the level of amateur athletes. So obviously there's a lot out right now for data for professional athletes and combine testing. And that happens before the season, after the season, sometimes in the midst of the season, to see where players are at. So we've got the same equipment that the NBA, the NFL, et cetera, uses for their combine tests. And we bring those, throughout the country to test amateur athletes, to give them a look of where they're at in comparison to other athletes their same age, and then even give them goals to shoot for. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect of just the app itself, there's an opportunity to upgrade coming up here in April, and you'll be able to take the BSA, the Ballogy Skills Assessment. And what we've done is taken feedback from trainers, athletes, coaches at the NCAA, high school, and professional levels, and built out really just an SAT standardized assessment for basketball. And so obviously there's a bunch of different aspects to the game of basketball apart from just shooting, but one of the primary abilities that you're going to need to be able to do to get to the next level is score well. And so there's an opportunity, you take your test, you set your phone up, you've got a 10-minute test, and you'll be taking 10 free throws, 20 in close floaters and finishes. You'll be doing 20 mid-range kind of off the dribble, and then you'll be doing 53s to kind of round it out. And our goal is to give kids an opportunity wherever you live, internationally, locally, just a chance to be discovered. And so we've partnered with the junior college level, the NAIA, and we're partnering with colleges across the board whose coaches want to be notified anytime a certain player, wherever they're at, hits a certain number. And so we want to level the playing field. Cristian, we spoke about this with Zach, and we've talked about it some. A lot of the things out there right now, as far as training and skill development, all that stuff, it's a lot of hype, and it's a lot of surface level, and there's sometimes not a lot of substance. And so our goal is just substance over surface. We want to be able to just objectively measure somebody based on their ability to score the ball, and that's what the BSA does. And so I would just love, Cristian, to hear your honest feedback on perhaps the importance of just a level of vulnerability and transparency, instead of, our goal is to contrast kind of what somebody might be hearing. Oh, you're going to do this. You're the best. You're going straight to the league, all that kind of things that, a kid might hear that might pump up their ego and cause them to take their foot off the gas with their level of training. And so could you speak at all just to the importance of really being vulnerable and finding out really where you're at, what your weaknesses are, and where you need to improve as a player and just as an athlete in general?
Yeah, definitely. I love that, man. I love that. I love the question. I love the idea and the theme behind, exactly what you said, where players, they reach a certain level in their career. And I'm going to assume we're in the context of like middle school, high school, right? And maybe some young college guys that potentially, leak down or whatever it may be. So it's normal for us, right, to hear praises and whatnot from people around us. I think that's very normal, and that should definitely be enjoyed. And you should be able to feel all the positive emotions that come along with that, because it's the direct result of the hard work that you put in to that point, right? But you got to go get it every day, man. Like it's not given to you because you are great one day or because you are ranked number one in the nation in your class at a specific position one day. I mean, tomorrow's a new day, right? Like it is that's why when you kind of asked about those 3 words about training with me, it's like consistency, right? Like you have to consistently show up, and some days it's working really hard on the court. Some days it might be no court and only breathing and only yoga. And some days it could be just weight room, and some days it could be a double day, right? Like hopefully you have good people in your corner that are pushing you, up and down and where you need to go. But ultimately, yes, like you should have a process in place. Hopefully people should have a process and a routine in place that keeps them in their process, regardless of you now drop 30 spots in your position because you can't score a jump, you can't hit a jumper no more, or you got the best jumper in all of America. Like you should hopefully wake up the next morning and still be in the same process that you were in before that. And I think what really kind of okay, cool. So that sounds great. So how do I do that? Or how can I get to that point? I think it really starts with having like some sort of mindfulness practice. And, I know we didn't talk about it a lot within the movement aspect and durable athlete, but that is where like a big piece and passion of mine with mobility comes in, is because my mobility practice is my mindfulness practice. And people might think mindfulness practice is like a yoga practice, or it's something in dark, in a dark room where you can't move or you can't think or you can't talk or whatever. But mindfulness, and I just put this up the other day, like on my social media, is basically just being able to be in the present moment and allowing yourself to feel all the emotions of the current moment. So you're not thinking about what's going on tomorrow, what's going on today, who told you what you have to do after, what you should have done before. Like you're in the present moment, which is so hard for people, bro. It is so hard for young, not even athletes, young kids to be in the present moment and not have their mind in a million places. So when you're able to put yourself there and become in the present moment, you walk away from that practice with a very clear head about what is important now and what is important in the long term. And I think that has really helped me stay the course, because if I'm being transparent, like all the athletes, watching out there, or coaches watching out there, like I want to be the Kobe Bryant and the Michael Jordan of my field. So like I'm waking up every day, I don't got the 6-figure deal, right? Like I don't got the endorsements. Like I don't got, I haven't made it to where I want to go yet. But that doesn't mean that I wake up in the morning and my process is like, like I'm not there yet, but like when I get there, I'll get in my like I'll pick up a mindfulness practice when I get there, or I'll start going to bed on time when I get there. It's like you got to put yourself in those shoes every day. So sorry, not to get on a tangent to go in a roundabout answer, Daniel, but to simply answer it, like, you know, like what will we say to somebody who's like, you know, wanting to improve or should be looking to improve every day, is the fact that like everybody, right, there's people out there like a John Morant that are not getting looked at, that are not being talked about, but best believe they're out there working and doing everything that they can to make someone look silly when they meet their match. You know what I mean? So if you're not in your process, they're going to catch up, man.
I love it, Cristian, and I really appreciate you speaking to that and even going, you know, a step beneath the surface. And so our goal is to provide resources that will actually help. We want to add value, and we don't just want to do and say certain things. We actually want to embody that. And, you know, the joy of getting to work with you and just having you on today is just getting to see that in action. So, man, we really appreciate you jumping on. Add to anything I'm about to say, but man, if you guys are local here in Austin, Texas, y'all follow Cristian on Durable Athlete on Instagram, and you'll be able to just follow his content. And if you want to go a step deeper, which I would absolutely recommend, just from an athlete standpoint, but even off the court, like the process mindset that you're talking about, we could probably do a whole another hour just on that, as opposed to, you know, contrasted to setting goals and getting discouraged if you're not there, and saying, like you said, you know, it's one of the biggest lies I think that anyone believes, athlete or not, you know, that, oh, once I get to this level, then I'll begin to work like this or whatever, you know. And so I just love that you spoke to that process. And so, you know, Durable Athlete, the app as well, is something that, you know, incredibly cost effective, but it's where functional workouts meet unconventional training modalities. And it's in addition to just the functional movement stuff, it's also got the recovery corner, which is my favorite part of the app. You know, that if you've gone hard, there's some things you can do there. You know, and then APA, if you're an athlete in the Austin area or beyond and you want to come in for a session, what are going to be the time periods of that, Cristian, just so that anyone listening can know?
Yeah, definitely. So starting March 29th and going for 5 weeks will be 6 to 8 a.m. Monday through Thursday. And then we'll do 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Monday through Thursday. So really just the morning times and then the evening. And then we're looking to expand that the 5 weeks after that. So we're going like into May and June. So yeah, during those times from May, really all the way to September, we'll have basically slots all the way from almost 6 a.m. to hopefully 2 p.m. So we'll see how that goes.
Awesome. Well, Cristian, bro, thank you again for your time, man. I just want to celebrate and honor you once again, you know, for the path and journey that you're on, and bringing intention and presence to the kinds of work that you're doing. And I know that you're going to bless a lot of people along the way. We'll include all information in the description below. And then we'll, do you want to add anything about where people can find you? I know we've got your IG, you know, where someone can reach out to you for some additional training and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think our social media is perfect, and just our website as well, which is just durableathlete.com. Tons of resources. The blog is crazy. The blog is hot. If you're out there trying to be educated, it's hot right now. Y'all got to come get it. It's hot in the oven.
Jump in.
Yeah, please jump in.
Jump in. Love it. Well, Cristian, bro, thank you